So glad I finally got back offshore with the boats. Did have to fix some things in between my last offshore trip, but finally made it. So I'm going to show a little bit of the repairs that I did and learned along the way, and then the rewards of that work is sailing. So to give you some context here, this is the autopilot system. There's a hydraulic pump, there's an arm, and then there's hoses to the arm, which the hydraulic fluid goes through. The issue is that I got two error messages on my computer system. It said a rudder drive error and a rudder angle error. So I had two things to solve. I just didn't know it yet. This here is the rudder reference unit, and it's what tells the computer what the angle of the rudder is, and that's necessary for the system to be able to steer the boat. So this is the old rudder reference unit, and I ultimately replaced it. And then I tightened this bolt that you see here. Alright, this is hard to port, going back. Starboard. Yeah, it seems to jump. Just leaving the slip, baby. Easy going, although I had to really run to undo the lines at the same time and then get back to the engine because there was some current. But it's alright. I just got it all off except for two. And then, yeah, it all worked out. So you can't tell, but I had changed out the rudder reference unit at this point, and I was testing the boat to see if the autopilot was now working. Unfortunately not. I was getting that error message, and that's the beeping you hear. So now I'm like, okay, what else is wrong with this thing? It ended up being this hose. You can see how rusted it is. Anyways, hydraulic fluid was literally squirting out of this thing when I was on one tack and not the other. That's, just due to the hydraulics and when the fluid's going through what hose. But that was the problem. I'm jealous of these boaters that don't have autopilot issues. Out racing and stuff. Here I am, heading back to shore, back to my workshop. Alright, well I'm in the lazarette and I just changed out these two hoses on the autopilot hydraulic pump. This is a reservoir which holds hydraulic fluid, and then it just goes straight into the arm itself, one for each direction. And I'm thinking, since these old ones were taken off, air's entered into the system, so I'll have to bleed it. I'll refill it here from the reservoir fill, and then hopefully I can bleed it through this as well. Since the arm is lower, maybe I'll bring these down somehow, and then the air should flow its way up to the top, and I'll probably just turn the wheel back and forth. Hopefully that bleeds it, but yeah, you need to get all the air out of the system. It did not bleed the system. I had to go back and bleed it this way, with the hoses, the hose valves. So with these tubes, you can see all the air bubbles in the tubes, the air escaping. Foggy morning here in Charleston. light winds, so I couldn't test the autopilot, but hopefully around noon I should be able to. I got a positive sign on the rudder test that I did, so hopefully it's working. Okay, so I'm on a starboard tack right now with the autopilot running, and that's something I haven't been able to say in a few months since I came off offshore. Sailing, 12 knots apparent, 8.7 true. Not as good a stress test for the autopilot as I would have wanted, but this is what I'm getting here today. But no error message here, and we're on a starboard tack. That's the one that had the hydraulic issues in the control arm. Everything looks to be working. Well, I have a flawless solo dock. It was a parallel dock, so not too difficult, but I'm always proud when I do something myself. Anyways, right now I have a bow line on, and then forward spring and a aft spring. And the cool thing about the aft spring, this was the first line on, this blue one, is that I have a bowline knot here, which I just loop around a cleat, and then the other end of this long line becomes my stern line. So this one line connects two lines to the boat, and it's a really good solo sailing trick. All right, so leaving Charleston, going back to South Florida, making this trip solo. Lena's gonna meet me in West Palm, and then we'll sail down to Marathon and stay there for a few months. So looking forward to being in a little bit warmer weather and stretching the boat's legs again. Going offshore after getting the autopilot fixed, and the refrigerator was broken. So it feels like every time you go offshore, in between your trips, you have to fix stuff to get back out there, but looking forward to it. Super calm exit out of the Charleston Inlet, just downwind. I have the head sail going, and we're hitting like 6 knots with the current. So the weather window looks pretty good. Mostly downwind sailing over the next few days, down south to Florida. I am seeing, some wind shifts between north, northeast, northwest, but most of it is downwind, and then maybe a little bit like a beam reach at the end on Monday. But I'm expecting to hopefully get to Florida by Tuesday, and I'll double check the mileage, but I believe it's 400 miles or so. Goodbye, Charleston. Here I'm running the engine literally just to charge the batteries. Overnight, the autopilot and all the electronics really drained them, and it was cloudy for days on end. So. So I had another main sheet shackle break. This is the second time, different shackle though, on the main sheet blocking system to break. First on this trip offshore though. I'll show you. So here it is, the piece that broke. And it makes sense that it breaks. Like, look how thin this metal is, holding on this little shitty clevis pin. So anyways, I had to get the boom off the shit, what do they call it? Drawing a blank. Didn't get much sleep, but had to get the boom off the wire there, and then I pulled the loose main sheet through one of the blocks, and then I was able to winch it back on. And then I tied something to the boom to hold it while I took the main sheet off, and then I was able to weave it back through and put these improvised shackles on. So it should work, but I'm not using it yet. So it's really cold outside, so I'm really wearing all my layers and spending a lot of time on the inside here, which has been nice. I've just been pretty cozy, waiting for the miles to come off. Got like 250 more to go to Palm Beach Inlet. I'm going due south. Well, the weather forecast has been right. Downwind sailing, so it hasn't been too rocky. I slept well last night, 45-minute increments. I would get up and check, and make sure there weren't any container ships, which there weren't, because there's not a real big port between Jacksonville and until Cape Canaveral. And I'm not even sure that's a port, but who knows, maybe there's a SpaceX satellite barge in my way. So yeah, anyways, I wake up every 45 minutes, check around, make sure the winds are the same, and I go back to sleep. So I've just been using the head sail to sail downwind. It's a lot easier than worrying about the boom and the mainsail and the wind switching, and then you have an accidental jibe. No thanks, especially not at 4 in the morning when I'm delirious. So yeah, head sail only. Wind has stayed relatively the same at north wind, northwest earlier, and it's slowly transitioning to northeast, which should help me get into West Palm as I'm rounding Cape Canaveral, which sticks out a little bit. Pulling into Palm Beach Inlet now. It's been just under 3 days at sea from Charleston, South Carolina to Palm Beach, Florida. I pretty much hugged the coast, maybe 60 miles offshore max at some points, and it was all downwind sailing except for the last 8 or so hours where the wind died completely, so I just motored. Worth it though, because getting here and it's just around noon, and yeah, it'll be good. Merry Christmas. I love the Palm Beach Inlet, nice and wide. There's the Blue Heron Bridge in the background, and to the left is Peanut Island. Beautiful spot, good place to anchor right there. Ah, the floating diesel barge, my favorite gas station. I think I might fill up. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and please don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this content. I should be traveling even further south soon. Bye.